Hey, good morning, everybody. It's an early morning in the Pacific time zone. I'm not used to doing this. It's Super Bowl preview with Aaron Schatz and Mike Tanier, NFL predictions, DVOA preview of the big game. I am Aaron Schatz of ftnfantasy.com/DVOA, and he is Mike Tanier of his own damn self. For those of you who may not have followed, I can't imagine we have any people who are watching live are probably very tuned into things, but perhaps if you're listening afterwards to the podcast version, you may not know that Mike's former home, The Messenger, died. Very unceremoniously had the plug pulled on it right after last week's podcast.
Yes.
A couple days after we did the live stream last Monday. And so Mike has set out on his own. So Mike can tell us a little bit now about the new Too Deep Zone Substack, which you will find at miketanier.substack.com. Sell yourself, Mike.
You just said it all. It is the Too Deep Zone Substack. It is me. Long-time Football Outsiders readers might remember that walkthrough was originally Too Deep Zone back in the before times of like 2004, 2005. And it's going to be a chance. I call it my own little micro distillery. So I mean, my own chance to tell NFL stories like I told for years with Aaron at FO, at the New York Times, places like that. But it's direct me to you as the reader. So come subscribe. It's like you said, it's at Mike Tanier at Substack, right? Did I say that right, Aaron?
It's miketanier.substack.com, I believe. Yes.
Thank you. I'm new to this. It's easy to find on Substack. You can become a free subscriber. First couple articles are going to be free. Of course, I learned everything that I know about marketing behind the 7-Eleven in 1985, and the first couple tastes are free. Then it's going to be more paywall stuff, so you can become a paid subscriber, $80 a month, or $80 a year, or $8 a month. Please come check it out. You will not regret it.
So I am in Las Vegas. Mike, unfortunately, had travel scheduled to Las Vegas, and that's a whole other story I have to ask him about. But his credential got pulled by the NFL when the Messenger died.
I'm paying for a room right now at the Excalibur. I
almost called you and said, "Why don't you just come anyway?"
It was really, really 50-50 that I was going to do it. And I was looking over the expenses and things like that. But luckily, I chose not to. And again, they pulled our credentials like on Friday night. Right. So it was up against the wall. If they pulled their credentials any later, somebody might have possibly been on a flight or whatever. And I can't really be out there with nothing to do. It's one thing to say I would be out there maybe writing for FTN Network or on spec, or at least
right, if you had a credential. I mean, here's the thing about the Vegas Super Bowl, and people are asking how Vegas is. Rep says, how's Vegas?
I want to know.
I mean, it's certainly different than any Super Bowl before. This is my 5th Super Bowl. They're all different from each other. Yeah. The biggest thing I say about Vegas is the hotel is much cheaper than you would expect, and the food is ridiculously expensive. So, Mike, having already paid for the hotel, you would have had to pay for food, and you would have been like, how much free food could... Hey, the folks from Bounty are giving away chicken wings.
Yep.
That's my lunch. Like, that was my lunch yesterday because I'm almost embarrassed to file an expense report to FTN with some of the meal costs here, even though we knew going into this week that was going to be the situation. So yesterday for lunch, I ate Bounty's buffalo wings, where the idea was you need Bounty paper towels to clean your hands after you eat the wings. And guess who came over and was like, do you mind if I eat here next to you on my table?
Who?
Carrot Top.
You ate wings with
lunch with Carrot Top yesterday. Yes.
Did he do something interesting with the Bounty?
No. We just ate.
He wasn't like, it could be a hat or a horse or a pterodactyl?
I said to him, it's like a home game for you. Because we're at Mandalay Bay, which is where the media... I'm at Luxor right now. Luxor is the media hotel. Mandalay Bay is where the media center is. They're right next to each other. Luxor is where Carrot Top does his show. So I was like, it's like a home game for him. And then I just said, happy promoting when he left, and that was that. But yeah, someone put a picture of it on... not a picture of it on Twitter, but they mentioned it on Twitter. They were like... This is what Super Bowl is all about, seeing Aaron Schatz and Carrot Top eating wings together.
Were the wings particularly?
No, they were not.
You're freezing, man. Well, a lot of times we have problems with the hotel internet. Aaron is frozen. You back?
Oh, I'm back now.
So were they messy? Oh dear. Aaron, you're frozen yet again, I'm afraid.
No, that's very strange. Here I am. I'm here.
Yes.
I've had good internet the whole week, so I don't know what's going on.
No, it always phases out the moment you try to
do a live stream.
Yes.
Yeah, Jim Steckschulte mentioned that I was on the Le Batard show. One of my triumphs of the week has been that I finally got back in touch with the Le Batard guys, because my old Le Batard contact was left behind at ESPN when they left Le Batard, when Le Batard left to go to Meadowlark Media. So I'm back in touch with them.
Good. I did not see that, but that's awesome. Tell me this: Did you get to the media party?
I did get to the media party, which was awesome. It was like my dream night.
Oh, where was it?
It was a Lunar New Year celebration with the Las Vegas Asian and Pacific Islander community.
Oh, my goodness.
So what it was a bunch of stalls set up with food from every local Asian restaurant and food truck of every Asian persuasion. So like not Chinese. It was mostly like Japanese, Filipino, Vietnamese, Thai. Like Asian food is my favorite food of basically every type of Asian food, except that I don't like kimchi. And it was like a dream night for me. I had 2 Thai iced teas with boba. It was amazing.
It's so good that Matt Lombardo was not with us, because that means there was no pizza or chicken tenders.
Yeah, there was no pizza or chicken tenders.
Sorry,
there was quesadillas. There were a Filipino quesadillas with chicken adobo in them. I mostly hung out with Josh Dubow from the AP and Doug Farrar and a guy named Barry, whose last name I don't remember, from the AP, who's mostly a baseball writer, but who has covered the Super Bowl since Super Bowl 9.
That's amazing.
That is pretty cool.
Last year, we were talking to a guy who wasn't media, but had been to like 44 Super Bowls.
Right, at the party. He was at the Arizona party, yeah.
Yeah, around that
the other thing about the Las Vegas Super, first of all, it rained the first couple days, which is a weird, and it's been cold, which is not what they wanted when they brought the Super Bowl here. Yeah. But you don't have to go outside because the Luxor and the Mandalay Bay are connected. Everything's inside. It's just a maze of slot machines to try to get from one place to the other place, which is very different from like having to spend a half an hour in an Uber in Miami in order to get from the hotel to where the media center was.
Oh, gosh. Did you get to opening night?
I did get to opening night, and I did a little bit of talking to Mike Frazier, who is Andy Reid's personal stats guy, who I've known since his Philadelphia days. And then I basically hung around Steve Spagnuolo and listened to Steve Spagnuolo talk. I'm not an interviewer. That's not my gig. I don't really use quotes from players or use quotes from coaches. I didn't end up even using any of the Spagnuolo quotes in my preview, which is at ftnfantasy.com/DVOA right now.
Awesome.
But it was interesting to listen to Spagnuolo talk about how he feels like this is his smartest defense.
Interesting.
And that the intelligence of the players allows him to be more flexible with their players coming in and out. Going to different positions. L'Jarius Sneed, for example, playing slot for a long time and now playing outside. And he said Nick Bolton is the engine that makes it all go.
Neat.
He was very, very positive about Nick Bolton, and he was very positive about Brock Purdy. I will say all the Chiefs people here have gone out of their way to praise Brock Purdy. How much of what they're saying they believe, and how much of what they're saying to not give any motivational energy to the 49ers, I'm not sure. I will say when Mahomes got totally booed at opening night, people were like, oh my God, he's going to be so motivated by all the 49ers fans. What 49ers fans? It was Raiders fans, folks. Raiders fans were booing Patrick Mahomes. We are in Las Vegas.
Right. That's amazing. And I can't imagine that like in the film rooms watching Brock Purdy, actual NFL players are thinking, well, this is just a system quarterback and he's a piece of garbage. Not that they would ever say that, but like that's not
the word that keeps coming out of the mouths of Kansas City people, and especially Spagnuolo, is poise. He's poised. He's poised. They don't think that the moment will be too big for him.
You've heard poised before, though, in that context of.
Well, but if you look at like his numbers against the blitz and his numbers under pressure, I mean, again, some of that is the system and some of that is his teammates. But the fact is, like, Brock Purdy was the best quarterback in the league against the blitz this year.
Right.
So that does seem to show poise.
Yes. Yeah. And the fact that you've come in playoff situations last year and things like that, that demonstrates poise. I was just joking around a little bit because poise is often the default for like the quarterback who just wins. It's because he's poised, you know?
Right.
So
we heard, I remember a couple of years ago, Baker Mayfield was super poised. So
poised. Yes. He was always poised. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, so that's been, listening to Spagnuolo was good. And I honestly didn't stay for the 49ers part of media night.
Okay.
I decided to head home and write.
Right.
I had to work more on the preview. It's
different when you're not collecting sound bites. Because other than the coaches, or if you're trying to get some personality stuff from a lower level player, you're not getting much there because you're getting swarmed by all.
Right, and you're getting all the silliness. You're getting the random Mexican television people and random, like, you know, late night with Stephen Colbert asking questions about if you weren't a football player, what career would you choose?
Right.
That kind of stuff.
How much Taylor Swift was there?
Speaking of Spags, Bill Houston asks, do we think that the Chiefs with Reed and Spags hold a significant coaching advantage over the 49ers?
I mean,
it's interesting because what the 49ers do great is the grand plan.
Yeah.
The grand scheme of how it works in general. What Spagnuolo and Reed do is the specific plan. This is our game plan for this game.
Yeah.
You know, this is the plays that I'm calling in this game. I will say I had dinner with Eric Eager last night from Sumer Sports, and he was saying that they've done some research at Sumer and that Reed really, you know, they have like a play calling metric that they've developed.
Okay.
And Reed really does save his best play calling for the hardest games in the playoffs. Like they feel that is a real thing.
Really?
Yeah, that Reed really does kind of hold out. Like, you know, when they have a run-of-the-mill game during the regular season, he doesn't necessarily do his best play calling. And then when they play the Chargers or the Ravens, the play calling gets better or the playoffs.
Interesting. Yeah. That would be a partial explanation for things like that Raiders game.
Yeah.
And that Raiders game was also a bunch of turnovers in the rain and goofy stuff, but like the idea.
And it was inspiring. I mean, the Chiefs talked at media night about how that was the turning point of their season, where they all kind of looked inward and said, look, who do we want to be here? And I mean, I never know how much of that stuff is real.
Right.
You know, in my opinion, it's not good to lose to the Raiders in the regular season. I mean, part of it is I want the regular season to mean something. Right. I don't want a team to be able to cruise through the regular season and just turn it on in the playoffs. I don't want this to be the NBA.
God, no.
There's been some comparison of the Chiefs to the Patriots, but the Patriots, it was always just September. By October, the Patriots had figured it out. And then the Patriots would go on to have these really great regular seasons from October to December.
There were two elements of that. One is I think there was just some storyline kicked in where if they lose 2 games in September, we all pile on. This is it. And it's like, okay, starting out 2-2 is not disastrous, or 3-2, or even sometimes it was 2-1 with one close victory. That was part of it. Also, I always thought with the Patriots, that was a load management thing. Like whatever was happening in September, if they were going lower, it was, not to use that NBA type term, the idea that they were peaking their conditioning in December.
And by the way, it's true that like Kelce has played a few more snaps per game in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. And Pacheco has played a few more snaps per game in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. Because I don't know how much of that is load management.
No.
And how much of it is we've identified that we have 3 good players they have to play: Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and Isaiah Pacheco.
Right. And we have to stop manufacturing touches for Mecole and Tony and all these other guys who you don't hear much of anymore.
I will say about Spagnuolo, going back to the defensive side of the ball, I think the most interesting matchup of this game is Spagnuolo's defense versus Purdy, because of the fact that Purdy was, by the numbers, so good against the blitz and so good with a pass rush. I mean, with pass pressure, all quarterbacks are better without pass pressure.
Yes.
But Purdy was still one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league with pass pressure. So was Mahomes, by the way.
Okay.
So you want to get the pass pressure, but he's not as bad with pass pressure as a lot of other quarterbacks are.
Right.
But the thing is, the numbers, this is a little bit of what do you trust, the numbers or your own lying eyes? Like, we all remember plays where Purdy looked like the pressure got to him, he sped up his process, and he threw an interception.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The numbers show that there are not that many of those plays, even though we remember them. But we're all thinking here about where is the blitz coming from Spagnuolo. One of the things I didn't write about in the preview, but Dan Pizzuta got some numbers on these, I think, from True Media, which keeps these numbers, is that the 49ers used the most condensed formations in the league of any offense. In other words, the wide receivers come in tight.
Yes.
That allows you to get out routes, but also allows for a lot of good run blocking.
Right.
The Kansas City Chiefs are really good when they blitz a defensive back.
Yes.
And the easiest way to get a defensive back in there is against a condensed offensive formation, because the wide receiver is not wide enough to block that defensive back if he blitzes. Trent McDuffie, like Trent McDuffie did not come out great in the cornerback coverage stats that I do, right? He came out as average. And the Chiefs were 16th against slot receivers. So how did Trent McDuffie make All-Pro? Well, a big part of it is slot blitzes.
Right.
And they're going to come after Purdy with slot blitzes, and San Francisco has got to be prepared for that.
And when you're in a tight formation, it doesn't have to be a slot blitz. You've taken your cornerback, your wide corner, and you've moved him closer to the quarterback. So not only does he have a quicker route to the quarterback, but it's easy to switch if he was going to be against somebody in man coverage. When I look at the 49ers, I want to try and get the pressure up the middle against the 49ers, because their interior offensive line is not as strong as what they can bring on the edge, certainly with Trent Williams on the left side. But a lot of times for the Chiefs, that means it's Chris Jones up the middle. I don't see them as a very aggressive middle blitzing team. I know that they'll send linebackers up there too, but that's a chess match I want to see, is how you're getting that pressure up the middle, because then you can force a throw more quickly and you can take a vulnerable spot on the
McKivitz is a weakness too, though, on the right side, the right tackle McKivitz.
Yeah.
Some of those, like Ben Baldwin's charts that he does showing pass blocking.
Mm-hmm.
He usually does charts that, one axis is the ESPN pass blocking numbers and the other axis is PFF's grade. Shows that San Francisco is not a great pass blocking team other than Trent Williams.
Right. No, what they do is they stay on schedule. So you're not in a lot of third and longs. That's one thing they do. They get the ball out quickly. They get the ball to the perimeter over middle quickly, and that protects Purdy by giving him easier, shorter throws and fewer 3rd and 10s.
Yeah. The other way around, right? Obviously, like we talk about, Mahomes has always been great against the blitz.
Yes.
Mahomes has always been great against pressure. I don't think that that's any different now. 49ers pressure rate has dropped significantly. I've got a stat here. Since Chase Young arrived, they had a pressure rate of 36% before week 10 and 27.5% after week 10. The league pressure rate has been lower in the second half of the season, so their drop in rank is not as big as you would expect, but they've gone from 4th to 13th.
Yeah, Chase Young's an interesting cat at this point. I don't know how much of him.
Yeah, it hasn't been as great. I mean, Nick Bosa is Nick Bosa, but there's no question that Chase Young has not lived up to his rookie year, has not lived up to the expectations when he came into the league.
Right. He's got to be banged up at some level, because, again, he's entering contract year. He comes onto this team where the expectations are going to be high, where the culture is going to be. I don't think you can dog it in that 49ers defensive room without getting some veterans coming after you. So I don't know what the situation is. They've got other guys who can apply pressure, though, especially up the middle.
Yeah. Reminder, by the way, if you are watching us live, please feel free to ask questions about the game. Yes. 49ers, Chiefs, either on the YouTube chat, and we'll see what we can do about answering those questions. The middle, of course, the 49ers are the number one defense against passes up the middle because Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw.
Right.
Mahomes was average on passes up the middle during the regular season. But of course, like everything else in the playoffs, it's been great. 10 for 17, 11.5 yards per pass, almost all first downs.
Wow. But of course, a lot of that is
But it will
Kelce.
be interesting to see, like, who's covering Kelce.
Right.
Is it Warner a lot? Is it Green? I think it'll be Greenlaw more than Warner. If you look actually at the number of targets, Greenlaw have faced tight ends on more targets than Warner has.
Okay. It could be Greenlaw, but again, this is not a team where you look at the receivers besides Rashee Rice and say, we have to address this. So you can get safeties involved. You can bracket things in the middle of the field against Kelce. Good luck. You can also say, well, he's going to get his 7, 8, 9 catches and stop everything else.
Yeah. That might be the way to go, actually.
Right.
Especially to stop. The 49ers run defense was not that bad during the regular season. They were 15th in run defense DVOA. They have not been good in the 2 playoff games.
No.
So much of this game is about just how much sample size do you trust. Like Mike Silver wrote something for the San Francisco Chronicle yesterday. And listen, Mike is not the most analytically sound of all football journalists. But his article basically was, how can you have watched the last 3 games and think that San Francisco is better than Kansas City? Why on earth is San Francisco favored? And the answer is that in general, a larger sample size is better than a smaller sample size. Right. And over the course of the entire season, San Francisco has been the better team.
Right.
I feel like San Francisco's 2 games where they struggled for like a game and then a quarter against Detroit does not mean that they suddenly are not good.
Right. Right. No, I agree. And
I'm buying into the idea that Kansas City is better, but I'm not buying into the idea that San Francisco is worse.
Right. And I guess one thing I have in these last couple of games, I don't have a reason for the 49ers, particularly on run defense or pass rush, to have fallen apart. It's not like, oh, well, Bosa's hurt. Oh, well, they're without Armstead or something like that. If you don't give me a tangible reason, I'm stuck kind of thinking, oh, these are just sort of wavering, up and down, cycles that, that could bounce back at any time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? And I mean, Pacheco also improved in the second half of the year.
Right.
But then has not been good in the playoffs. Pacheco has not been good in the playoffs. He's only averaging something like 3.5 yards per carry in the playoffs. It's just that in the second half of the season, he was good, but it's just that he's gotten a lot of carries because Kansas City, won games.
Winning, and he's gotten some grinding, tackle breaking runs when they needed him. But
he runs hard. We all know he runs hard. It was really interesting. I went to the Next Gen Stats press conference.
Okay.
Went to the Next Gen Stats press conference yesterday, and someone asked them about can they measure force?
Ooh.
Because, wouldn't you like to know just how hard Isaiah Pacheco hits people? Some kind of measurement of force. They said they don't measure that. Someone asked, where would the Niners run defense in the last 2 games rank in the league during the regular season? The answer is bad. They've allowed a 13.1% DVOA against the run in the last 2 games.
Right.
And during the regular season, that would be the bottom of the league.
Right.
But again, there's lots of instances this year where teams allowed 13.1% run DVOA over 2 random games in a row.
Right.
That happens all the time. I don't think that means that they're suddenly the worst run defense in the league just because they allowed that. But yes, that is much worse than they were during the regular season.
Right. And again, I don't have a reason for this other than Chase Young was playing poorly, which can be solved very quickly by not putting him on the field because they've got other guys. And while the Lions have a great offensive line and maybe they catch you off guard and they steamroll you a few times.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's adjusted for opponent.
Right.
But the Lions are a great running team. And they allowed a lot of runs to Baltimore. But Baltimore is a great running team.
Yes.
And I think, people have said to me, who do you think is who do you like in this game? And the answer has been not a team. It's just been Pacheco and McCaffrey.
Okay.
Because the other way, I mean, that is the Chiefs' run defense is not a 2-game weakness. That is an all-season long weakness. And especially with zone runs. And we know the 49ers are amazing at outside zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I would think and hope that they're not going to give up on the run the way the Baltimore Ravens did.
Right, which was insane. It was 2 weeks ago, which was absolutely goofy. But yeah, you're right. And that is, of course, the Chiefs. It's sort of systemic. They've had run defensive issues for years. They're not built to stop the run defense. Their run defense is Mahomes. And this year that hasn't been the case because they don't run up 3 touchdown leads the way they did in years past.
Another interesting, the run defense thing gets to the question of who has the lead late and what kind of defense do they want to play. One of the things I'll point out, both of these defenses were stellar in the fourth quarter in the regular season with a lead. These defenses were really good defending a lead late. So it is going to be tough for whoever is losing when we get to the end of this game to come back.
Right. Both of them can rush the passer, especially when they can pin their ears back.
Yeah.
If you're not worried about stopping the run anymore between Spags' creativity and the Niners dudes, they can unleash on you. And particularly the other side of that is that the 49ers offense can stay within that structure and generate first downs, get down the field, kick a field goal, punt and pin you, and do their part to preserve a lead. Of course, the Chiefs can do their part to erase a lead too with Mahomes.
Right. Also, Bill Houston points out that from Nate Taylor in Kansas City, Joe Tooney will not play. Jerick McKinnon will not play, which that's not a big surprise. Willie Gay is healthy enough to play.
Okay.
And George Kittle has had a toe injury and has been limited in practice, but I can't imagine that that's really going to be a problem. Once you get to the game, the pain tolerance that George Kittle has to play with a toe injury in the Super Bowl is pretty high. I really like George Kittle in this game. If you look at the coverage, it's not that Kansas City was particularly weak against tight ends this year, but there's no doubt that their cornerbacks are better in coverage than their linebackers and their safeties.
Okay.
And so I like Kittle in this game. I like Kittle to go over. I like Kittle at 47.5 yards as his prop. I like Kittle as a really ridiculous long shot MVP candidate. I would say my favorite bet in this game is Super Bowl MVP guys who are not Brock Purdy. Because I just have a feeling, based on the way we all write about Brock Purdy, that if San Francisco wins this game, that the media will be looking for a reason to give this to one of the teammates rather than to Brock himself.
I can see that.
So I like McCaffrey at plus 450.
Okay.
I like Ayuk at plus 5,000. And I like Kittle at plus 8,000. And as Hitchhiker's Pie points out, we have never had a tight end Super Bowl MVP. This may be the best year for that because if Kansas City wins and Kelce has a big game,
right?
Just the Kelce Swift storyline might influence people to vote for Kelce for MVP.
And who else will they vote for after that?
Mm-hmm.
Psyop.
Usher.
McCaffrey for MVP. McCaffrey's at plus 450.
McCaffrey is plus 450. Yeah,
that's very tasty. That's because you talk about the Chiefs
a parlay of McCaffrey with 2 touchdowns and McCaffrey with plus 450.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking if McCaffrey is going to win MVP, he probably would need 2 touchdowns. I mean, you can do a similar parlay of Mahomes for MVP with Mahomes with 2 touchdowns.
Right. You can do them both. And then you have 2 ways to win, and it's like you can go either way. I'm sitting at home for this game. I can bet all I want. Folks, you cannot bet, by the way, in the press box. But I can bet all I want.
Bet in the press box.
You cannot bet in the press box, ladies and gentlemen.
Hitchhiker's Pie says Purdy's route to MVP is distributing and everyone else sort of blocking each other in a Mr. Bird's virus style. I'm not sure I understand that, but I understand the distributing. Okay. Purdy's route to MVP is if he distributes the ball equally to everybody, and therefore nobody has a big game, and he's the MVP.
Like he's got to throw 3 passes to everyone, because if somebody gets 4, they get the MVP over Brock Purdy. even if it's like 4 catches for like 27 yards. Mr. Burns stayed alive in The Simpsons, Aaron, because all of his all of his illnesses tried to attack him at once and cancel each other out. That's how Mr. Burns stayed alive.
Rep says, do you think taking the field against the quarterbacks as MVP is a good bet? And the answer is no, because if the Chiefs win, it's probably Mahomes. Right? I don't, Kelce would have to have a really big game for it to be Kelce instead of Mahomes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I haven't looked at the odds for anything like that. It's just, I would do that in his game where if it was Brock Purdy versus, I don't know who the other quarterback would have to be in the AFC for that. But against Joe Flacco, then I would go that direction.
Bill Houston says, can the 49ers cover Kelce? Well, the 49ers were 4th in DVOA against tight ends this year. I mean, he's great tight end. He's one of the best tight ends in the league, even at the age of 34.
Right.
But they do have Greenlaw and Warner. I do think Warner is a little bit better in coverage, and Greenlaw is more likely to end up with him in coverage. But I think that they can somewhat limit Kelce. I mean, as much as you can limit him.
Yeah. I mean, if your biggest problem is we have to limit the tight end, you're in really good shape.
The trouble is going to be Kelce going out.
Yeah.
Right. Is following Kelce on a sail route or something, where he's going in the corner, where he's going out to the corner.
Right. Right. Kind of the touchdown he had against the Ravens in the front corner of the end zone, which I don't know if that was a sail route, but
the one he had against the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year that they were replaying last night was a corner route where he got past the linebacker and was like, huh?
Right. That's the things you worry about. But again, there's no one to occupy the safeties on that for the Chiefs. So that could be a problem where he's running a sail or something like that, and the safety's just following up the field.
Yeah, I can definitely see a thing where the 49ers defense is like, okay, if MVS beats a cornerback and actually catches the ball, we lose.
Right. Right. What are the odds?
We'll take the risk to cover Kelce. We'll take the risk. We'll if MVS catches the deep ball, we'll lose.
Right. I can see.
Hitchhiker's Pie says Roquan did a good job shutting him down in the AFC Championship game, and Levante David in Super Bowl 55 against the Buccaneers.
Kelce? Shutting down Kelce?
Yeah, I think in the second half, Kelce didn't do much.
He didn't do much in the second half.
The whole Kansas City offense didn't do much in the second half, right? The Baltimore defense was good enough to win that game.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of Kelce's plays in that game were these miraculous Hall of Fame highlight reel plays, where it's not like he's getting wide open against you. It's he's catching the ball out here, and catching jump balls and things like that. So I don't know. I don't think the key is stopping Kelce,
I think it's stopping Pacheco and Rice more than stopping Kelce.
Right. If they're not running the ball and it's that one-dimensional where it's like we're looking for Kelce on every play, the 49ers are going to win.
Like Kelce can't catch every 3rd and long. He'll catch some.
Right.
But he can't catch them all.
Right. You hold them to
if you can make them do 3rd and long, there's gonna be some punting.
Absolutely.
By the way, which I should add, one of Kansas City's clearest advantages in this game is special teams. Which is not punting as much as kicking.
Yes.
But punting too. Townsend is a really good punter. San Francisco hasn't been good on punt returns. But of course, the biggest thing is if this game comes down to a field goal, you trust Harrison Butker far more than you trust Jake Moody.
Absolutely.
So here we are at the end. So the line is San Francisco -2. What do you think about that? And who is your pick? Acknowledging that I think we would both say the same thing, which is that this is a pretty close game, closer than we would have thought it was at the beginning of the playoffs. It's close.
It's close. And part of my brain leans 49ers, but I also am get stuck with if I can get the Chiefs and 2 points, or I can get the Chiefs and a +102 money line, I need to take it.
Yeah.
I need to take it. All these little tiny intangibles from the kicking game to Spagnuolo and everything add up, and it adds up to the Chiefs. I want that. I was also leaning under earlier, but I saw you saying over is the way to go.
I like over, but here's the thing. Over the course of the last week and a half, my belief in over has moved under. Like, I don't believe in the over as much as I did. Like,
What
I think
changed?
I still kind of, the system likes over, but now I'm probably like, wouldn't bet the over under at all.
Why are you distrusting the
Because
system?
of running, because there's going to be a lot of running, and that's going to slow the pace down. Because if you think about it, both teams are probably going to want to run the ball more than usual.
That's kind of where I was thinking there. There's going to be running. There's going to be more defensive stops that I think people anticipate. And that had me leaning. And the over-under is not real high. It's like 47.5, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm leaning under or leaning avoid it, or just do a first quarter one and then see where we stand.
My thing is a first half over.
Ooh.
Because of what I said about the fourth quarter defenses.
Okay.
So both of the offenses have been better in the first half.
Yes.
And the defenses in particular have been better in the second half and the fourth quarter for both of these teams. So I like a first half over, but I would not go with I would not play the game over. I would play the first half over, which I think is 23.5.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like. Who's the halftime show again? This is
Usher.
That's right.
Usher.
I remember him, sort of.
Yeah. Everybody say yeah. Yeah. That's the only Usher song I know. I'm not an expert on the music of not just today's youth, but the youth of 15 years ago.
No. I kick out in about 94 or 95. So that's
I know alternative rock and I know rap, but I don't know R&B.
Right. I grace the world with as few actual music opinions as possible, unless we're talking specifically about 1968. I don't come in here and try to have an opinion on Usher. I was just curious if it was somebody I could even recognize. So I still have no idea who The Weeknd is. I know The Weeknd.
Oh yeah, I know him better than I know Usher, actually.
Did you have chicken wings with him?
What?
Did you have chicken wings? Did you have chicken wings?
I have not had chicken wings with The Weeknd. No.
With The Weeknd. Okay.
Bill Houston points out that Schatz bowed out of the music scene after gifting the world Creed. You're welcome. Yeah. In the end, I think I have to go with my numbers and favor the 49ers in this game.
Okay.
And if I had to bet the line, which I would much rather bet props and stuff, I would bet the 49ers -2. But it's real close. And I do not want to say, I don't want it to be like, he's against Patrick Mahomes. Like, it would be not the tiniest of upsets for Kansas. It would be an upset for Kansas City to win, but it would be the tiniest of upsets. It's a very balanced Super Bowl. And I mean, I do kind of want, I'm rooting for San Francisco for a couple of reasons. One is I want the regular season to matter.
Okay.
And they were better in the regular season.
Okay.
And the other is my general rule, which I know sounds crazy coming from a Patriots fan, but here we go, that I root for the team that has gone the longest since a championship, because those fans haven't had a celebration. Whereas the Kansas City fans, they've had enough celebrations. It's fine.
I'll listen to you. They've had enough celebrations. The Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl this year.
Luckily, 30 years. I mean, the San Francisco people won an NBA title, and they won multiple World Series and multiple NBA titles, but they haven't had a Super Bowl. They haven't had a Super Bowl championship in 29 years.
Okay. I felt more comfortable last year when both of us just realized the right answer for the pick was over. Last year it was like over, and we were just like, midway through the fourth quarter or third quarter, like, we're done. We're done here, So it's not that easy this year.
Rep says heads or tails for the coin toss. Tails never fails.
I've heard that. Analytics expert Aaron Schatz, on the record, master of probability, says that tails never fails.
Tails never fails. All right, so are we both a little bit on San Francisco? Or you're more Kansas City because you just like the money line. You like the idea of going Kansas City. I like the money
line. That's all it is. I'm probably going with props and goofy things.
I like Kansas City money line more than I like Kansas City +2.
Yeah, definitely. I might get a little tiny bit of juice rather than points that are probably not going to matter. I think I'm actually leaning 49ers.
Yeah, but it's close, and I think we would not be surprised by either one. And we will be back on Monday morning.
You gonna be okay? You gonna be traveling?
No, I'm traveling Monday night.
Wow. You're in that palatious room that we see behind you for
Yeah, I'll be in my hotel room still at 8 a.m. Pacific. So we'll come back on Monday.
I forget, do the rooms have slanted sides because you're in the Dorito?
I'm in the tower part of the Luxor, so no, but I believe that in the Dorito part of the Luxor, yes.
Okay. I stayed in the Luxor in the 90s. I remember the diagonal pyramidic elevators.
Yes.
The diagonal elevators, which are awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the tower part, so I don't have that.
Okay, but you'll be there. You'll be here Monday.
We'll be here Monday. The two of us will be here Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific to review the game, talk about what happened. And I do not know yet what our schedule will be for the offseason, but we will be here Monday to review the game. Everybody have a great time. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ads. Enjoy Usher. Hope Lil Jon comes out. Stay away from the FBI PSYOP. I hope may all your bets hit and the team that you want to win.
Yes.
All right. For Mike Tanier, I am Aaron Schatz. This is the Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast. We will be back Monday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. So long, everybody.